Bhakta Yoga Shikiva Prabhu Lokanatha Bhakta Yoga Shikiva Prabhu Lokanatha Aha Daya Koro Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Daya Koro Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangamage Narottama Dasa Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jaya Koro More Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jaya Koro More Toma Vino Te Doyalu Jagata Samsare Toma Vino Te Doyalu Jagata Samsare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Premanandi Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri So many things today. What is it today? What many events. What are the events? Sri Saradiya Rasayatra Ki Jai. The disappearance or appearance? Murari Gupta Ki Jai. Huh? Disappearance. Terabha Mahamahotsav of Srilam Murari Gupta Ki Jai.
The appearance of the sun Ki Jai.
Appearance of the sun. Oh yeah, I can't see it yet, but I think it's there. I can see some light.
Murari Gupta Tirobha.
We said that already. I just said that 3 times. I said it twice. You're not listening, sunshine. Open your ears. Kartik Vrata ki jai, Damodar Vrata ki jai. What else is it? Something else. Saraswati or something? Something to do with Saraswati? Huh? Lakshmi. Lakshmi Puja ki jai. Okay, so today we'll talk about Lakshmi Puja. Is that right? Huh? Lakshmi Puja? I think. No, not necessarily. Lakshmi is the consort of Lord Narayan. So, her business is to take Lakshmi to Narayan, Sita to Ram, to approach Krishna through Radha. So, this month of Kartik especially, when we say Lakshmi Puja, it's in its complete form, you could say, it's really Vaishnava, devotional service. This month is the month of Kartik, when we began this morning by offering the lamps, and sometimes Damodar, the month of Damodar, but particularly it's known as the month of Kartik, which is the month of Radharani. And in the Bhagavad Gita we read, Krishna says, of months I am. Which month is he? November, December. Yeah. What's the Sanskrit? Mrigashirasha. What is it? Mrigashirasha. He says, of months I am November, December. That's Krishna's months. Of course, the calendar varies, Western. So the month before that is the month of Radharani. So we approach Krishna through Radha. So this month is very dear, most dear to Krishna. The dearest month of all to Krishna. So, Vaishnav means to do that which is most dear to Krishna. It's nothing about doing what we like. It's what pleases Krishna. So this mantra particularly is very dear to Krishna. It's also very dear to Radharani. Why? Maybe many reasons, but one good reason. I'm not sure what's happening to the microphone. It's hanging on my bead bag, right? Is it? Or where is it now? I don't know where it is. Is it on me now? It came off just now. Someone put it back on. Good. Why is this month dear to Radharani? It's her month. It's also very dear to her. Diwali, Damodar. Yeah, they both are actually, yes. The pastime of the binding of Krishna takes place on Diwali day. That's the same as the same day. So, why is that dear to Radharani? Sounds pretty nice. Is she happy to see Krishna tied up and crying? Also Govardhan Puja is there, but yes, it's also very dear to all the Vaishnavas, all the devotees in Vrindavan Dham, no doubt. Very special event. The appearance of Radha Kund is there, yeah, also very significant. But particularly it's said that this pastime of Krishna being bound up is Radharani's favorite pastime. Some kind of unusual, it sounds a little strange, but it's her favorite pastime. Sometimes it's said like that, because the intensity of, or the, let's say, the real understanding of, there are many levels, but the devotee's understanding is how Krishna is only bound, as you just read it in the Damodar Astakam. What is it? Krishna is bound by love. The intense love of Mother Yasoda, which has no limits. There is no other way to bind Krishna other than by love. Not by any other means can he be bound. Bhakti means love. It's not an activity of itself. The activity may help to awaken the love, but it's actually none other than absolutely unalloyed pure love. Bhakti. It's not some act. We naturally at our stage we tend to equate it with an activity, with a location, with many other externals and some internals, concentration, remembrance, and so on. But ultimately, it is the presence of absolute love, which Mother Yasoda manifested in this pastime, which captured Krishna. He'd be tied up by that love. So Radharani is hankering for that opportunity to also bind Krishna like this, tie him up with her love. Krishna fulfills her desire. Anyway, today we're going to try to discuss a little bit about this month, not too much, time doesn't allow, and a little bit about Murari Gupta. Rasalila, no, what can we say? We could read something, but I'm not qualified others to say that that is the absolute manifestation of the, we can say, the complete pleasure of Lord Sri Krishna, the loving relationship of his gopis, etc. But that you can read. So today we're going to read from Chaitanya Charitamrita to start with. I think it's on the board. A nice verse in the Madhya Lila. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Bhaktera Mahima Prabhu Kahite Paya Sukha Bhaktera Mahima Prabhu Kahite Paya Sukha Bhaktera Mahima Kahite Haya Panchamukha Bhaktera Mahima Prabhu Kahite Paya Sukha Bhaktera Mahima Kahite Haya Panchamukha Bhaktera Mahima Prabhu Kahite Paya Sukha Bhaktera Mahima Kahite Haya Panchamukha Bhaktera Mahima Prabhu Kahite Paya Sukha Bhaktera Mahima Prabhu Kahite Paya Sukha Bhaktera Mahima Kahite Haya Panchamukha Bhaktera Mahima Prabhu Kahite Paya Sukha Bhaktera Mahima Prabhu Kahite Paya Sukha Bhaktera Mahima Kahite Haya Panchamukha. Any ladies? Bhaktera Mahima Prabhu Kahite Paya Sukha Bhaktera Mahima Kahite Haya Panchamukha Bhaktera Mahima, the glories of a devotee. Mahima. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. How many of you have been to Puri? Who's been to Puri? Not so many of us. 4 or 5. And at the Rath Yatra, how many have been to the Rath Yatra in Puri? None of us yet. Let's see Krishna's arrangement, whatever. But before the Rath Yatra, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, and Lord Jagannath comes out of the temple to go onto his cart, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is calling out, Mahima, Mahima, Mahima. All glories, all glories. He's calling out to the Lord. generally an address for a great personality. So, the glories of a devotee. Prabhu. 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 They're used in different ways. Prabhu. Prabhu. Hey, Prabhu. We use it according to our moods. But actually, here it refers to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's a very elevated address, Prabhu, Master. Kahite, to speak. Paya Sukha, gets happiness. Bhaktera Mahima, the glories of a devotee. Kahite, to speak. Haya, becomes. Panchamukha, five-faced. Who else do we see? We sing it sometimes, don't we? Panchamukha, who knows? Chaturmukha. Yeah, what does that mean? Rama Rama. Rama Bola. Chaturmukha. Krishna Krishna. Four heads chants Krishna Krishna, and Mahadev with his five faces chants Rama Rama. So this verse means Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu becomes very happy just to speak of the glories of his devotees. Indeed, when he spoke of their glories, it was as if he had five faces. There's no purport, it's just a verse which I chose in between a few other topics, because it just again emphasizes how much pleasure the Lord receives or experiences when he hears his devotees glorified, more than when he's glorified. When he hears the glories of his devotees. And it so happens at this stage of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is accepting prasadam in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. But aside from that, it is the end. It is the end of the season, Chaturmasya season. And Lord Chaitanya is bidding all of the devotees farewell as they're going back to Bengal. As you may know, this month, Kartik, is the last of the 4 months of Chaturmasya, the 4 special months, the rainy season in India, when traditionally saintly persons stop their traveling and reside in one place to focus on bhajan, mostly on bhajan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing permanently in Puri, residing there. But during this 4-month period, the devotees from Bengal would, generally speaking, would come in the hundreds to see him in Puri. And they would stay the whole period of the 4 months. They would come beginning of the Chaturmasya is Ratha Yatra, and then they would stay for the entire 4 months up to Kartik, and then return back to Bengal or wherever they came from. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would relish pastimes with his intimate associates from Mayapur and other parts of Bengal and so on. And when they're leaving, there would be, tremendous relationship, different interactions between them all. So Lord Chaitanya has been interacting with the devotees, and I'm just going to read 2 of those little interactions today, and then a little bit about Kartik, because our time is short. So after talking the glories of Srivas Thakur, he wouldn't just say goodbye, he would in front of everyone else, he would glorify them. A little bit in this case, in some cases a lot. But give some glorification of the devotees as they were leaving, or sending them back to Bengal with some mission. He gave a mission to Srivas Thakur, a mission to Lord Nityananda, and others he just glorified. Or in other cases, he just answered their questions. After thus speaking how dear Srivas Thakur is to Lord Chaitanya, Ramananda Vasu and Satyaraj Khan both submitted questions at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Satyaraj Khan said, "My dear Lord, being a householder and a materialistic man, I do not know the process of advancing in spiritual life. I therefore submit myself unto your lotus feet and request you to give me orders." Submission. Spiritual life is based upon this humility. We may have doubts, we may have attachments, we may have misunderstandings on our path. Fears, all sorts of things may come into our consciousness due to our impurity, our lack of pure devotional service. We're still maybe somewhat conditioned. So these effects of the combination of the material energy may appear, as clouds may appear in the sky. So they may be there, but they're conquered ultimately by the mercy of Krishna, but by the humility of the devotee, which of course unavoidably includes a submissive mentality. Doesn't mean an unintelligent one, but one of humility, of accepting that I need change. I may have my conditioned perception of the world based upon my experience or whatever, through my conditioned imperfect intelligence and mind, ascertained what is right and wrong. We may have so many different attachments and judge the world accordingly, but that will only keep us in the world, because we're using external means to try to understand the internal. The humility is when we offer those external means to, as Krishna over and over explains, how important it is to associate with pure devotees of the Lord, to hear from pure devotees, to be rectified, corrected, chastised, whatever it takes to purify our consciousness and put Krishna in the center. What is we're in this world? Because we're putting ourselves in the center, which includes our mental conditioning, our intellectual reasoning, and our desires and everything else, all based upon myself in the center. And even manipulating shastras, manipulating circumstances to satisfy me in the center. But in the association of the pure devotees, by their mercy, if we're a little humble, we're not so humble sometimes, a little proud. But in the association of pure devotees of the Lord, by the mercy of those devotees, the mercy of Krishna, that pride can be removed. That pride can be cut. So many pastimes are there of Krishna dealing with persons with pride, Indra, this one, that one, and how Krishna mercifully cut down their pride. And similarly in devotional service, the success, we may look at it another way, we may think it's the failure. The success of devotional service is when our pride is cut down, our attachments are diminished, our envy is removed, and so on and so forth. And that may involve some frustration sometimes. We get a little bit upset sometimes, because we're still seeing ourselves in the center. So the glorification of devotees is one of the main processes. It doesn't mean lip service, as we say in English, just simply speaking one thing and thinking another, but actually developing an appreciation for devotees. As of course these are pure eternal associates of the Lord, but appreciation for all devotees. We have time to go into that today. We'll read on, but this is the principle. Lord Chaitanya himself demonstrates this. He doesn't demonstrate it, he actually experiences this. This is his greatest pleasure, to hear the glorification of his devotees, and he relishes getting the opportunity to do it. So Satyaraj Khan, humbly submitting himself before the Lord, please tell me, what is the process of advancing in spiritual life? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, some of you may be looking on your mobile phones, I don't know, but what did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reply? What did he say? What is the process? I'm a household, Lord Satyaraj Khan was saying, I'm a household, I'm materialistic. I don't know the process of advancing. Usually we come, I know the process of advancing. I know this, I know that. Listen to me. Sometimes that's our mentality. But this wasn't Satyaraj Khan's mentality. What did Lord Chaitanya answer? It's quite simple, actually. It's probably too simple to think of it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, without cessation. Does everyone know what cessation means? It's not a very common word, cessation. Does anyone? No. Pardon? Cessation. To stop. Cessation means to stop. So without stopping, without cessation, what should we do? Oh, very good. Continue chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna without cessation. Whenever possible, serve him and his devotees, the Vaishnavas. These are the two main limbs, you could say, Vaishnav Seva and Nam Seva, of the practice of devotional service. Chant the holy name, non-stop, and serve the devotees. Again and again, Lord Chaitanya reveals this to his devotees or people in different situations. In this way we can get freed of pride, envy, lust, greed, anger, and so on. This is the process. Then he said, how can I recognize a Vaishnava? Please let me know. What is a Vaishnava? If I have to serve them, I want to know what are their symptoms. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, whoever chants the holy name of Krishna just once is worshipable and is the topmost human being. Pretty far out. Huh? Anyone says Krishna, Hare Krishna, very special. Well, that's the very beginning. They're still respectable. I was just looking at the picture, Danitai just showed us a picture of him distributing a Bhagavad Gita in Nantes. Right? Yeah. And the sun has risen. In Nantes. And to a very sophisticated intellectual, wasn't it? Yeah. Completely drunk man. Totally drunk. But there he is buying, and he said, I got no money. And Danitai said, oh, you can pay by card. Oh, all right then. And he's got his card out and paid by card for a Bhagavad Gita. Such a fortunate soul, and he's considered to be, in some ways, in a lowly position. But by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he's become the most elevated amongst human beings. Practically. Of course, there are levels. That's just the Vaishnava. Then there's, Vaishnava. What is it? Uttama and Vaishnavantara or whatever. Higher and higher. One who chants once is a very great person. And one who's chanting all the time is even greater. And one who's chanting makes others chant is the greatest. But still, that respect is there. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one is relieved from all the reactions of a sinful life. One can complete the 9 processes of devotional service simply by chanting the holy name. Are we having kirtan this afternoon? What time? 4 o'clock. Wonderful. So this afternoon, we're not going to tour today. You probably know why. But we're not going. We're going to be here on Sankirtan. When Prabhupada was here in New Mayapur, huh? He was asking that question, right? Are you going on Sankirtan? Lovely bright sun, a bit blinding. Are you going on Sankirtan? And somebody answered, once a week, Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, once a week? Why only once a week? Well, we're so far from the city, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, no. You don't city or no city. You do Sankirtan here in New Mayapur. So today we're doing Sankirtan in New Mayapur. Do it every day. Chant wherever you are, in the forest, in the Pujari room, wherever we are, we can chant Sankirtan, chant the holy name. I'm going to jump over that pastime. We're going to go now to today's event more, you could say. What we do, because I'll forget otherwise, we were talking of Sankirtan. We welcome back the Sankirtan book distribution party, who just returned yesterday because of the lockdown. I don't have all the scores for the month, but I think it's accurate. I've got the scores for the 4 devotees who are on the traveling Sankirtan book party this month. It may be a little bit wrong, but I think I've got it right. So there were 4 devotees, and Jal he left 10 days ago or something. So he was only on. In fact, most of the devotees were only on for a shorter period this month. And back to Yorick. If you don't know, Yorick is over here near the deities. Came about 10 days ago from the United Kingdom. He's actually French origin in this body and speaks French. Is joining us to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. And he's only went maybe 7 days on Sankirtan. And others were out not the whole month. Danitai Prabhu also went home for some period of time. And Joe left for Portugal maybe 10 days ago or something like that. So we have this month, of those 4 devotees, Nitai Charan Prabhu. Where's Nitai Charan? Oh, he's right near me. There he is. He's too close to see. Some things, with the closest things to us are often the things we don't see. Huh? It's so close. So Nitai Charan Prabhu distributed 48 Bhagavad Gitas or Maha Big Books, 3 big books, 50 medium books, 72 small books, and 141 magazines, and 3 Arabic books. Haribol. Well, wonderful. 165 book points, if you know what that is. And Yorick Prabhu, he was only out for, 6 days, I think, wasn't it? Maybe 6 days. In 6 days, he distributed 125 Bhagavad Gitas. In 6 days. That's over more than 20 a day. 42 medium books, 19 small books, and 276 book points. Haribol. Imagine if he would have done. Don't know what he would have done. And Joe distributed 110 Bhagavad Gitas, 51 medium books, 57 small books, 101 magazines, 1 Arabic Gita, 3 small Arabic books for 285 book points. And Dainatai Prabhu distributed 176 Gitas, 3 big books, 55 medium books, 46 small books, 37 magazines, and 1 small Arabic book for 401 book points. Jai, of course, to Prabhupada. So this international program now, we have a Gita campaign. And of course the lockdown has probably made it a little bit reduced in our case, but there's an international campaign for this year to distribute 2 million Bhagavad Gitas around the world in these last 3 months of the year. So If anyone has any ideas or has an ability to think of how we can distribute books, even though maybe we'll be staying here pretty much all the time from November, let's think of how we can distribute Prabhupada's books. There are the ways of doing it. You may know that in America, in many temples, they've not been able to go out distributing on the streets as normal or in programs, but they've been distributing more books than usual. How is that? That sounds mystical. This is a good month to do more books. Every book you distribute, you get 1,000 times the benefit. Does it count like 1,000 book points, every book you distribute? Maybe not. For whatever. It's a great benefit. So how to distribute more books? You can mention, if you have any ideas, you can mention Jivananda Prabhu, Dayanitai Prabhu, how we can increase the book distribution this month. Sending books out, mail order, different ways. Giri Govardhan.
Yeah, we did this at a certain time in Brittany. We were distributing sweets, then books.
We can't go out. We can't go out.
In villages.
Yeah, we can't go out at all. We're stuck here. Everything has to be done online. We can't go outside. So we have to do it here. Anyway, if you have any ideas, you can see, let us know.
If you go in villages, nobody will care.
We'll talk about it later. But if anyone has any ideas, please mention them to Dayanitai or Jivananda Prabhu. We're having a conference call this afternoon with our book distributors in Paris, how to increase the book distribution this month. Increase the Sankirtan of Lord Chaitanya. So we're going to read now a little bit about Murari Gupta. Today is his Tirubhav. So after glorifying so many devotees, Lord Chaitanya then called Murari Gupta. He embraced Murari Gupta and began to speak about his firm faith in devotional service. This was heard by all the devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Previously, I induced Murari Gupta again and again to be allured by Lord Krishna. I said to him, 'My dear Gupta, Lord Sri Krishna, Brajendra Kumar, is the supreme sweetness. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the origin of all incarnations, and the source of everything. He is pure transcendental love itself, and he is the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna is the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. He is like a mine of gems. He is expert at everything, very intelligent and sober, and he is the summit of all humors. His character is very sweet, and his pastimes are melodious. He is expert in intelligence, and thus he enjoys all of his pastimes and mellows. I then requested Murari Gupta, 'Worship Krishna, take shelter of him,' but for his service nothing appeals to the mind. In this way he heard from me again and again. By my influence his mind was a little converted." Murari Gupta then replied, "I am your servant and your order carrier. I have no independent existence." Murari was a little older than Lord Chaitanya, but they were at school together. They were always fighting, and Lord Chaitanya was always making fun of Murari Gupta as well. They had so many pastimes with each other, but this is one very wonderful pastime and very significant. After this, Murari Gupta went home. And Lord Chaitanya was trying to get him, "You worship Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. What's the problem?" But there was a big problem for Murari. He went home that night and spent the whole night thinking how would he be able to give up the association of Raghunath, Lord Ramchandra. Thus he was overwhelmed. Even in Lord Chaitanya's associates, some of them were worshippers of Lord Ramchandra, some of Lord Nrsingadev. some of Lord Narayan. They weren't all in the same mood. They also came to assist Lord Chaitanya in his Sankirtan movement. Murari Gupta then began to pray at the lotus feet of Lord Ramchandra. He prayed that death would come that night, because it was not possible for him to give up the service of the lotus feet of Lord Raghunath. Thus, Murari Gupta cried the entire night. There was no rest for his mind. Therefore he could not sleep, but stayed awake the entire night. In the morning, Murari Gupta came to see me. Catching hold of my feet and crying, he submitted an appeal. Murari Gupta said, I have sold my head at the lotus feet of Raghunath, or Ramchandra. I cannot withdraw my head, for that would give me too much pain. It is not possible for me to give up the service of Ramchandra's lotus feet. At the same time, if I do not do so, I shall break your order. What can I do? In this way, Murari Gupta appealed to me, saying, kindly grant me this mercy, because you are all merciful. Let me die before you, so that all my doubts will be finished. Hearing this, I became very happy. I then raised Murari Gupta and embraced him. I said to him, all glories to you, Murari Gupta. Your method of worship is very firmly fixed, so much so that even upon my request, your mind did not turn. The servitor must have love and affection for the lotus feet of the Lord exactly like this. Even if the Lord wants separation, a devotee cannot abandon the shelter of his lotus feet. This is love. This is the example given, whether our affection is towards Krishna or Ramchandra, but this is the nature of the pure soul. He cannot, no matter what happens, he never gives up his love and devotion for his master. Just to test your firm faith in your Lord, I requested you again and again to change your worship from Lord Ramchandra to Krishna. In this way I congratulated Murari Gupta, saying, indeed, you are the incarnation of Hanuman. Consequently, you are the eternal servant of Lord Ramchandra. Why should you give up the worship of Lord Ramchandra and his lotus feet? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, I accept this Murari Gupta as my life and soul. When I hear of his humility, it perturbs my very life. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went on to glorify other devotees. And I just want to finish, because our time is running quickly, with one more thing. A little something on Kartik. Yes. Usually we hear from the Puranas or from Kartik Mahatmya on the glories of offering lamps, the glories of undergoing vrata during the Kartik season and urge of vrata, and the glories of being a mature Vrindavan in a holy dham, and relieving us of all sinful reactions. We hear these things sometimes, which are all there, emphasizing the importance of this month, the value of this particular month. By performing service in this month, how we can become, it can also, let's say, serve pride in some cases. But the idea, if properly performed, is that humility and pridelessness and so on will awaken within our hearts. But I'm going to read a few other things. This is from the Skanda Purana. As Satyuga is the best of yugas, or ages, Satyuga, best of the ages. As the Vedas are the best among the scriptures. As the Ganges is the best of rivers. So Kartik is the best of months, the most dear to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna says in the Padma Purana, of all plants, the sacred Tulsi is most dear to me. Of all months, Kartik is most dear. Of all places of pilgrimage, my beloved Dwarka is most dear. And of all days, Ekadashi is most dear. Again, he's saying Dwarka maybe with in the association of different devotees. He may, obviously, he's going to encourage them. It's like Prabhupada said, your service is the most important service. You're worshipping the deities. Your service is this is the most important service. You're looking after the Gurukul, you're doing their farm. Your service is the most important service. You're managing the temple. Your service is the most important. Whatever, you're distributing books. This is the most important service. But I would say that to literally every devotee who's sincerely, in a sincere mood, performing that service. You say the same thing with deities. These are the most beautiful deities. You go next temple, these are the most beautiful deities. The pure devotees seeing Krishna. Every form of Krishna is most beautiful, most perfect. The Damodar Astakam prayer should be sung and deeply meditated upon every day during Radhika's holy months, along with offering of lamps. This is usually done to a picture of Mother Yasoda binding Krishna. That's just simple information. Whoops. Srila Prabhupada writes, one in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one should observe particular vows like Kartik Vrata. It's one of the principles given in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Prabhupada's translating the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami. Is one of the vows we should perform, Kartik Vrata. But we have to do some sacrifice, some austerity is there. So Kartik Vrata is one of those wonderful opportunities to inspire us to do some vrata. Now, let's see what. One of the most important of these ceremonial functions, this is Nectar of Devotion, I think, I'm not sure, maybe. One of the most important of these ceremonial functions is called Urja Vrata, which is observed in the month of Kartik, especially in Vrindavan. There is a specific program for temple worship of the Lord in his Damodar form. Damodar refers to Krishna as being bound with rope by his mother, Yasoda. It is said that just as Lord Damodar is very dear to his devotees, the month of Damodar or Kartik is also very dear to him. The execution of devotional service during Urja Vrata in the month of Kartik is especially recommended to be performed at Mathura. This system is still followed by many devotees. They go to Mathura or Vrindavan and stay there during the month of Kartik. This year, because of circumstances beyond our control, normally we're in Kartik at this time of the year. We're in Vrindavan, rather. But this year, Krishna's grace, we're not physically able to be there. And they specifically perform devotional service during this period. In the Padma Purana, it is said the Lord may offer liberation or material happiness to a devotee, but after some devotional service has been executed, particularly in Mathura, during the month of Kartik, the devotees want only to attain pure devotional service to the Lord. The purport is that the Lord does not award devotional service to ordinary persons who are not serious about it. But even such unserious persons who execute devotional service according to the regulated principles during the month of Kartik and within the jurisdiction of Mathura in India are very easily awarded the Lord's personal service, the devotion. One time a devotee in Vrindavan, 1972, they asked Srila Prabhupada, today is the beginning of Urja Vrata, the Kartik Vrata. Can you describe what that is, Urja Vrata? How it should be observed? The devotee is asking Prabhupada, Urja Vrata, you chant Hare Krishna 24 hours for 1 month. That's all. And Prabhupada started to laugh. And then that devotee started going, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And then Prabhupada said, yes, don't sleep, don't eat. This is Urja Vrata. Can you execute? We'll save on the vegetables and then on the bhoga bill. We may increase on the medical bill, though. There may be no one left to even pay it. Can you execute that? devotee, I don't know. And everyone started laughing. Prabhupada said, it's ridiculous, you can't do that. But that's actually Urja Vrata, constant chanting of the holy name. And I think this is from, let's see, I haven't got the reference. As far as I know, this is from Transcendental Diary. Srila Prabhupada himself did not undergo any extraordinary vrata austerity during this month, as he was already undergoing the greatest vrata of preaching and showing how to be 100% engaged in the Lord's service. This is the real vrata, not some concoction or some, I like this, I like that, but it's to be fully engaged in service. Although good for all, particularly for those in Grihastha life, Srila Prabhupada did not establish a particular standard within ISKCON to observe. Still, it is highly recommended. Unending spiritual benefits can be accrued. So why not take as much advantage as one can of this wonderful month? It is Radharani's month, and without her mercy we have no hope of becoming Krishna conscious. Although Srila Prabhupada mentioned to stop eating and sleeping, neither he did that, nor did he stipulate his disciples should. But at least we can minimize our needs, accept that which is necessary and not more, and dedicate as much time as we can to hearing and chanting and other services. Maybe we can cut down on some of our, I don't know what we do, and wasting time, especially fault finding, criticizing, gossiping, etc., or just concocting things, etc., and wasting our time on concoctions. Focus it on what Prabhupada has given us, on devotional service, and keep as engaged as we can. And this will be the most beneficial thing. We don't have to stop eating, chant 190 rounds a day, and no time for service. It won't do very much good to anyone. But to focus on full engagement in devotional service, whether it's hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. And it's nice we come forward, please engage me. How can I serve you? This is the humility, the mood of a devotee who really wants to advance. It's a picking and choosing we may have in our conditioned state, but as much as possible asking, please engage me in service. How can I serve? How can I serve? How can I serve you? How can I serve the mission, etc.? You've asked, Prabhupada wrote in one letter. Now this is early days, so time, place and circumstance at that time, emphasis was not on these type of things, but it's interesting to note, Prabhupada wrote, you have asked, this is 1969, you have asked about the specialness of the month of Kartik, and the answer is that it is a special inducement for persons who are not in Krishna consciousness to perform some devotional service. For persons who are doing nothing in Krishna consciousness, it is an indirect inducement to take to devotional service in earnest seriousness. Every moment is Kartik. Prabhupada was saying for a devotee actually, every moment is Kartik. Every moment of the year. In this connection, there is a good example that sometimes a store gives a special concession to attract new customers. But for those who are already customers, there is no need of a special sale. They will purchase at any cost if they know the important value of the goods. Similarly, those who are pure devotees do not aspire for any concession, and out of spontaneous love, they try to engage themselves in devotional service 24 hours each day, 365 days every year without stoppage. That was a letter to Jayapataka Maharaj from Srila Prabhupada. So, Hare Krishna. So that's you could say our aspiration in Kartik is to try to keep fully engaged and not waste our time on things on the internet which we don't need to deal with, or on our mobiles, etc., but to try to focus on our hearing and chanting and service to the Vaishnavas and service, whatever service we have, but to try to keep fully engaged. The Prabhupada said, every day is Kartik. This way one will get tremendous benefit. So we'll finish there for this morning. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Kartik Vrata ki jai, Shri Lakshmi Puja ki jai, Shri Shardi Rasyatra ki jai, Shri Tirobhama Murari Gupta ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. 9:22. Any comments or questions? Any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Hare Krishna. So 4 o'clock here this afternoon, Harinam Sankirtan in the temple.